Welcome to everyone to Sauce Time Gaming. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video once again. And today we're going to be covering the best settings for console players on a controller for Vanguard at the moment. And this is based on what I've experienced already in my playtime. And I think that a lot of people don't really notice as settings that you're able to adjust. So let's get right into it, and I'll break down each one of these if necessary. If you do learn something new with these settings and you do enjoy today's content, hit that like button down below. I would truly appreciate it. If you want to watch all the regulars for Sauce Time Gaming, and especially for Vanguard now that it's released, hit that subscribe button, and I would truly appreciate to have you on this journey with this new game, new experience. So let's jump right into it. So for the settings, I already have mine set up, so I might not remember exactly how these were initially. My game crashed twice last night when I was playing, so I had to set these up actually a couple of times, about 3 times I think. So they're already set, so I'll just kind of break them down and breeze through them. So for horizontal and vertical sensitivity, I use 8 and 9. That's just my personal preference, so that's really up to you. My sensitivity overall here, I leave these at 1. My custom sensitivity, I do lower the low zoom sensitivity to 0.80, which is similar to what I run on Warzone, if not the same. So when I'm zooming in with a lower optic, I get a little more control. I do run tactical flipped. That's personal preference as well, so you can kind of check that out yourself. On all these settings, I leave these the same. I like to have the controller vibration on. The weapon fire threshold, this is more for those that use the R2 and L2 buttons to shoot. I don't. I use the R1 and L1, so this is irrelevant for me. But what this pretty much does is if you're using the L2 or R2, different weapons will have different thresholds to actually start shooting. So that's really personal preference if you want to leave that on. I wouldn't recommend it anyway, but in my case, it doesn't apply. Next, we have the ADS sensitivity transition timing. I leave this at instant, and you can kind of read these. I think they're very specific on what they do, but instant might just be the best way to approach it. Again, check it out and then maybe leave it in the comment section down below if you do use anything different, but instant gets the job done. So I leave this as it was. All these settings, I left them as they were. The dead zone here is something you'll have to test for your own controller because it depends on how much stick drift you already have. But I'm going to lower this here to a 5, and then I'll test it accordingly. Maybe I'll lower it a little bit more, but yeah. And in this case, the L2 and R2 don't apply because, again, I use the L1 and R1. The dead zone input here, I leave these at 99. They're pretty good where they are already. And from there, we have to move to the gameplay section. Now, in the gameplay section, the target aim assist, I leave that on. The target aim assist mode, JGod has a video breaking this down more into detail. You can check that out, but default tends to be the best one. It gives you that strafing aim assist, and then if you do aim down sight, it gives you the aim assist there. So I think that's perfectly fine. The ADS aim assist is on. The weapon mount activation, ADS and melee, that's personal preference, but that's what I've always used. The weapon mount movement exit. This one is a unique one, I want to say, but you can control how long it takes for your character to get off of a mounted action when you move the character. So you can have this longest, so when you're mounted, if you move your character away from the structure you're mounted on, you can choose that to happen for the longest, for a long time, for the short time, or for the shortest time. I like to run this on short right now. I will be testing shortest later on to see if it's actually better, because if someone's shooting back and you want to kind of get off of that cover as quickly as possible, maybe shortest will be best for you. But I'll have to check that out and update if necessary, or if you would like that to happen. Depleted ammo weapon switch on, blind fire on, although I don't really use that. It's a very niche scenario where you do. Automatic airborne mantle. Now this is the very secretive one, I guess, if you will. I don't think many people cover this, but I turn all of these off. What this basically does is it gives you complete control of what things you want to jump over or what things you don't want to jump over. So you can set it up for when you're in the air and you're approaching a structure, you can automatically mantle it, or you can control that by leaving it off. If you're grounded and you're walking towards something, you can set that to automatically mantle you over, or you can do it manually yourself. And the same for the automatic ground mantle. This is kind of the same setting, just a very specific difference here. But if you turn all these off, basically you'll be able to mantle over things manually. So if you just want to jump, or just to kind of peek over something, then you just tap the X once, for example. If you want to actually mantle over, you tap the X twice. Now, it might be a little bit weird, a little bit complicated. It might require a little bit of practice, but once you get used to it, I think it gives you way more control over every single action you're doing. And it helps you peak more effectively, instead of automatically mantling, maybe falling to your death, or falling into a pit of 4 other players waiting for that to happen. So I think this is a very specific setting that if you turn it all off, it gives you way more control over what you're doing throughout every single match. So there you have it for the mantling. The automatic sprint, I have this at automatic tactical sprint. No auto move forward. Sprint cancels reload. I love this setting because if you're reloading and you hear someone pushing you, you can just run and it'll cancel the reload animation, and then you can reload whenever you're ready, or you can just switch your weapon. So this is a fantastic setting. Definitely I would recommend to have it on. Sprinting door bash, I keep that on just if I want to kick a door open, I'll kick it open. The slide behavior, remember to set this as tap, because this is the most effective way to slide cancel, or to just slide the quickest as possible. Then the aim down sight behavior, hold, that's always been that way. The equipment behavior, hold. Steady aim behavior, I set this to toggle now because it's way easier to just hold your breath and be able to just control your sight instead of pushing down on the analog and then having to control the sight. It's a totally different ball game, so I would really recommend you give it a try if you haven't. The automatic weapon fire behavior, that is hold, that's always been that way. This is contextual tap is the prioritize interact. So if you like contextual tap, prioritize interact is the one you want to be using. And then scoreboard behavior toggle, that's nothing really crazy there. Next, we're going to go into the graphics section. Now, the brightness here, I have it at 48. This is completely up to you. The recommendation tends to be keep it at 50 and then adjust your monitor or your TV accordingly. But it's really up to you, whatever works best. I have it at 48, and I might adjust this based on the other maps as I check them out, because we do have 20. But yeah, regardless, set this up accordingly for you and your monitor and your setup. So that's really personal preference. The field of view here, I like to run this at 110. I think this runs very smooth. I think it's the best way to kind of keep a balance of visibility around you and be able to keep an eye on your target as well. So that's personal preference. The camera movement, I would recommend you bring that all the way down. Oh, by the way, the ADS field of view, leave it as affected. Camera movement, I leave that at the least option, because you just don't want a lot of shake when you're when things are exploding around you. World motion blur, make sure you turn that off. Weapon motion blur, make sure you turn that off as well. It just gives you way more visibility of everything as you are moving. Depth of field, I leave it at on. I haven't really gone into that to know better, but yes. The audio mix, real quick here, master volume 100, music volume will be 15, dialogue volume will be 25, and the sound effect volume is at 100, and the hit marker 75. That's actually the default option. Then you have the audio mix, whatever you want to set up. I'm using headphones. I might try something different, but for now, this has been perfectly fine. Acoustic music, mono audio, leave that off, because if not, you won't get that directional audio. So you want to leave this off. Voice chat is on. This is all default. Didn't really change anything there. Now, in the interface, I don't think there's much I can recommend here for you. Oh yes, the packet loss and the server latency, I like to have these shown. The system clock is a nice detail as well, just to kind of keep track of time. But yeah, this is, if you can see on the top left, you can see the latency and whatever packet loss you're having. So it's a great way to gauge how well your connection is, and if you're trying to test out times of day to know when's the best time for you to game with not much lag. So there you have it there. Okay, if we scroll down here, the mini map shape is square. That's the default option, which is fantastic. and you want to leave it there. It just gives you way more, about 26% more visibility on the map, so that's what you want to leave. Minimap rotation is personal preference. Crosshair bobbing might be a little bit weird because when you shoot, the crosshairs kind of shake with the weapon. This is personal preference. I don't think it's given me much of an issue so far, but I might change my mind once I play the game a little bit more. But for now, on is perfectly fine. And then all these things are fine. Leave this in-game alert icon on so you know if you're having any sort of extra high latency variation, packet burst, or whatever the case may be. And with that, the account and network crossplay on, this is all really this is all really very specific. So for Vanguard, these are the best settings for a console player with a controller. That's what I've been using so far, and I think these are fantastic settings. I love the settings the game has. I love the way the game feels already. Again, it did crash a couple of times last night, but it felt like my console was getting used to the game itself. It was kind of weird, but there was a delay between crashes and it was kind of extending. So it was weird, but other than that, the game feels fantastic. The settings work great. And I think if you give it a try and it works, I would really love to hear that in the comment section down below. So, leave your comment if these worked. If you have any other setting that you feel is very good and you would like to recommend other people, comment that down below. And yeah, if again you want to stick around for all this Vanguard content that's going to be coming out, hit that subscribe button. If you did enjoy today's video, I would truly appreciate that like, and I hope I can catch you on the next one. But until then, always remember, Sauce Time Gaming.